Welcome to the final part of our journey through the power of now. If you've made it this far, you're beginning to grasp the truth that lies beneath every thought, every feeling, and every experience. In this part, we explore what it means to live fully in the present, to break free from time, to dissolve the ego, and to experience life as it truly is, unfiltered, unburdened, and timeless. We'll also touch on how to integrate this profound awareness into your everyday life and how to transform every moment into an opportunity for awakening. If you haven't seen part 1, 2, or 3 yet, I recommend going back to connect all the dots of this incredible journey. And before we dive into this final chapter, make sure to subscribe so you can stay connected and continue evolving on this path of presence. Let's dive in and live fully in the now. Chapter 9. Beyond happiness and unhappiness. There is peace, the search for happiness. In Chapter 9, Tolle dives into one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern life. Happiness. We all want to be happy, right? It's the ultimate goal for many of us. But here's the twist. Chasing happiness can actually prevent you from experiencing true peace. Why? Because the pursuit of happiness is often driven by the ego, which constantly tells you that you need something external to be happy. More money, more success, more approval, more validation. And even when you get these things, they don't bring lasting happiness. Instead, they create more wanting, more striving, and more dissatisfaction. Happiness as a temporary state. Happiness, according to Tolle, is not something you can grasp or hold on to. It's a fleeting state, tied to external circumstances. You get a promotion, you feel happy. You buy something new, you feel happy. But this happiness is always temporary. It comes and goes. As soon as the circumstances change, your happiness can disappear. This is the problem with chasing happiness. You're looking for it outside yourself, in the future, or in things that may never come. But real happiness, Tolle says, is not something that depends on the outside world. The difference between happiness and peace. The key to understanding this chapter is realizing the difference between happiness and peace. Happiness is a fleeting emotional state. Peace, however, is something deeper and more enduring. Peace is not something you have to chase. It's something that's already within you, waiting to be discovered. True peace comes from being present. When you are fully in the moment, not attached to any desire, not looking for approval or validation, you experience peace. This peace is independent of what's happening around you. It's always available because it comes from within. Living beyond the duality of good and bad. Tolle explains that when you're constantly seeking happiness, you're stuck in the duality of good and bad. You judge things based on how they make you feel, whether they bring pleasure or pain. But in the state of presence, you step beyond this duality. When you are fully present, you no longer need to categorize experiences as good or bad. You simply experience them as they are, without judgment. And in that space of non-judgment, you discover a deeper sense of peace that is independent of the circumstances. The power of now in achieving peace. The way to access this peace is through the present moment. When you stop seeking happiness in the future or in external conditions and instead focus on the now, you experience a profound sense of peace. The present moment is the gateway to peace because it is the only time that truly exists. When you're fully present, you are free from the mental patterns of desire, expectation, and attachment. And in that freedom, peace naturally arises. It's always there, waiting for you to notice it. Peace is your true nature. One of the most profound teachings of this chapter is that peace is your true nature. It's not something you have to strive for. It's not something you have to earn. Peace is who you are beneath all the layers of thoughts, emotions, and ego. You are not your thoughts, your emotions, or your circumstances. You are pure awareness, and at the core of your being, there is peace. When you realize this, you stop searching for peace outside yourself. You stop chasing fleeting happiness, and instead, you begin to embody the peace that is already within you. Transcending the ego's desire for happiness. Tolle emphasizes that the ego thrives on seeking happiness because it reinforces the illusion of the self. The ego says, if I get this, I will be happy. If I do that, I will be happy. But this is a trap. The ego never finds lasting fulfillment because it is always looking outside of itself. True peace, on the other hand, comes from transcending the ego's constant demands. When you let go of the need to seek happiness and simply be, you tap into a deeper peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. How to experience peace. So how do you experience this peace? First, you need to stop waiting for external conditions to change. Don't wait for things to be perfect or for the right moment to come. The moment is now. By fully embracing the present moment, you let go of the ego's cravings and enter the state of peace. Second, practice non-attachment. When you let go of your attachment to outcomes, expectations, and desires, you open the door to peace. The less you cling to the idea of happiness or success, the more you experience the peace that is always present. The end of suffering. The pursuit of happiness often leads to suffering because it's based on the ego's constant desire for more. But when you stop chasing happiness and instead embrace the present moment, you step out of this cycle. You stop identifying with your mind and your ego, and you experience life in its purest, most peaceful form. This is the end of suffering. When you no longer seek happiness outside of yourself, you discover that peace and contentment are not only possible, but they are your true nature. In Chapter 9, Tolle reveals that the search for happiness is a trap. True happiness is not something you can find outside yourself. It's something that comes from within when you live in the present moment. By letting go of the ego's constant cravings and embracing the peace of now, you can experience the deepest form of contentment and fulfillment. Chapter 10. The meaning of surrender, the concept of surrender. In Chapter 10, Tolle discusses one of the most transformative concepts in spiritual practice: surrender. At first, surrender might sound like giving up or losing control, but in reality, it's the exact opposite. Surrender is the key to unlocking peace, freedom, and the present moment. Surrender doesn't mean you give up on life or become passive. It means accepting the present moment as it is, without resistance, without judgment, and without trying to change it. This is where the power lies. When you surrender, you stop fighting reality and instead align with it. The ego's resistance to life. Most of us live with an underlying resistance to what is happening in our lives. We want things to be different than they are, and we constantly fight reality. We resist the present moment by wishing things were different, by longing for the past or worrying about the future. This resistance comes from the ego. The ego doesn't like things to be as they are. It always wants more or less or something else entirely. The ego's need for control keeps us trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction and frustration. When we resist the present moment, we create inner conflict. We feel tension, unease, and dissatisfaction. This is where much of our suffering comes from. The power of acceptance. Surrender, on the other hand, is the practice of acceptance. Instead of resisting what is, you accept life as it unfolds. You stop struggling with reality and stop trying to force things to fit your desires or expectations. When you accept the present moment, you experience peace. You stop fighting against what is happening, and you start to flow with life rather than against it. Surrendering to what is. Tolle emphasizes that surrender is about saying yes to the present moment, no matter what it brings. Whether it's a difficult situation, an emotion, or a challenge, surrender means accepting it fully, without resistance. This doesn't mean you don't take action when needed. It simply means you stop struggling with what is. You act without attachment to the outcome, and you let go of the need to control everything. The mind's resistance to surrender. The mind, especially the ego, resists surrender. The mind wants to understand everything, control everything, and make everything fit into its concept of how things should be. But the mind can never understand the present moment fully. The present moment is beyond thought, beyond the mind's concepts and judgments. When you surrender, you let go of the need to understand everything. You simply are in the moment, without trying to label, control, or figure things out. You allow life to unfold as it is, trusting that everything is unfolding perfectly, even if your mind can't see it. The freedom of surrender. Here's the beautiful part about surrender. When you stop resisting life, you free yourself from the ego's endless desires and struggles. You let go of the need to control and manipulate the world around you, and in doing so, you experience true freedom. This freedom isn't the freedom of doing whatever you want, it's the freedom of being at peace with what is. When you surrender, you step out of the ego's constant demands and into the spaciousness of the present moment. In that space, you are free. Surrender and the present moment. The practice of surrender is directly connected to the present moment. In fact, surrender is one of the ways to fully enter the now. When you surrender, you stop clinging to the past or worrying about the future. You stop projecting your desires onto the future, and you stop regretting the past. In the now, there is no room for resistance, only acceptance. By surrendering to the present moment, you step into a state of flow. You align with life as it is, and that alignment brings peace and clarity. Surrendering to life's challenges. Tolle explains that surrender doesn't mean passivity, it means engagement with life from a place of acceptance. Life's challenges will always be there, but instead of fighting them or wishing they weren't happening, you surrender to them. You embrace them as part of the flow of life, and you meet them with presence and calm. When you accept challenges as part of life's unfolding, you experience less resistance. You move through challenges with grace, knowing that they too are part of your growth and awakening. Surrendering the doer identity. One of the most profound shifts that happens with surrender is the letting go of the doer identity. The ego loves to identify itself through what it does, through accomplishments, achievements, and roles. But when you surrender, you begin to realize that you are not what you do. You are not your achievements, your title, or your status. Surrendering to life means letting go of this constant need to define yourself through doing. You begin to realize that your worth is not tied to anything external. You are inherently valuable simply by being. The ultimate surrender. Ultimately, Tolle suggests that the highest form of surrender is the surrender of the self, the ego itself. The ego is the part of you that resists the present moment, the part of you that clings to desires, fears, and attachments. To experience true peace, you must surrender the ego's need to control everything. When you surrender the ego, you experience a deeper connection to the universal consciousness. You move beyond personal identity and into a state of oneness with all life. In Chapter 10, Tolle teaches us that surrender is the gateway to peace, freedom, and enlightenment. By surrendering to the present moment and accepting life as it is, we step out of the ego's constant struggle and into a state of flow and Presence. The more we surrender, the more we experience true freedom, peace, and connection to the deeper aspects of ourselves. Conclusion: embracing the present moment. In conclusion, The Power of Now is not just a book, it's a guide to transforming your life. Through the chapters, Eckhart Tolle introduces the concept of living in the present moment, shedding the ego, and awakening to your true self. The fundamental teaching is clear: peace, joy, and fulfillment are not found in the past or future, but in the now. Breaking free from the ego. A central theme in the book is the ego and how it keeps us trapped in patterns of suffering. Tolle encourages us to transcend the ego by becoming aware of our thoughts and emotions without identifying with them. By observing our mind and stepping into the present moment, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of wanting and suffering. Living with presence and acceptance. The power lies in surrender, accepting life as it is without resistance. Surrender does not mean passivity. It's an active choice to embrace what is in the present moment. Tolle explains that true freedom comes when we stop fighting against reality and start living with acceptance and presence. The joy of being. Ultimately, Tolle reminds us that our true nature is not defined by the roles we play or the thoughts we have. Our essence is simply being, and in that state of being we find peace, joy, and love. It's about living fully in the now, without attachment to outcomes or expectations. A new way of living. By practicing the teachings in the power of now, we can cultivate a life that's free from the stress of past regrets and future anxieties. We learn to experience life as it unfolds, embracing each moment with awareness and mindfulness. So, I invite you to take a deep breath and ask yourself, how often do you find yourself living in the past or the future? How can you bring more presence into your life, right here, right now? The power is within you, just waiting to be awakened. Let go of the need to control and trust in the moment. The now is all we ever really have.